You are deformed.
I am deformed.
And you are ugly.
And I am ugly.
And these are crimes for which the world shows little pity. You do not comprehend.
You are my one defender.
Out there they'll revile you as
Minister Frollo speaking some truths. We're about to speak some truths about some classic Disney animated films. And let me tell you, this was probably one of the hardest things I've ever had to do in my life. Not really, but joining me in this incredible feat is Ben, James and the Giant Peach Siski.
Hello, hello.
How's it going?
It's going. I gotta say, this list was pretty difficult to make.
Oh yeah. I think up to this point I was switching it up. So,
Yeah.
welcome to Not Another Top 10 show, and best strictly Disney all animated features. So nothing like Fun and Fancy Free or
Peach Dragon.
Pete's Dragon,
Space
stuff like
Jam.
that. Yeah, Bedknobs and Broomsticks, good stuff. So here's how it breaks down. We're gonna go 10, 9, 8 for each of us, and then we're gonna go 7, 6, and then 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 will be one apiece, leading up to our number one. So if there are no questions, Benjamin, we can start.
I'm ready when you are.
All right. So
Looking forward to it.
I actually had something at number 10 that I recently switched out, which was The Sword and the Stone. But moving in at my number 10 is going to be 101 Dalmatians. For me, this film is so unique because it's not a musical. It's not a Disney musical,
Yeah.
which so many of our list is. But this picture to me just is one that says, let's go on a fun adventure for an hour and some change. You know, sit back, relax, and enjoy the hell out of it. And that's exactly what I did. I love the fact that you have a woman as a villain, and she's one of the most memorable villains for me in all of the Disney landscape. So with that said, 101 Dalmatians goes number 10 for me. Do you have any good memories of that movie?
You know, it's a good one. It did not make my list. However, like you said, Cruella, man, she's just this. She's a good villain.
She definitely is. I actually recently talked to one of the young kids that I work with, and just hearing what they would say about Disney movies, and I brought up 101 Dalmatians, and he said, "Yeah, I love that movie." And this is little 4 or 5 year old, and he says, "But the lady's kind of scary, So there's that scene where she's driving after the dogs, and the roof of her car is ripped off, and
She just looks like a maniac.
yeah, her hair is blowing in the wind, and she's got those red eyes.
She's just this skinny, like anyone would, probably be able to pick a fight with her. But the fact that she's going after these innocent puppies so she can get their fur,
Yeah.
it's like a dark twist on the movie almost. Like she's just this maniacal, scrawny lady who just
Yeah, it's very deranged.
Yeah.
But so that's number 10. I think some things that you're going to hear throughout our list is, wonderful music, great characters,
villains.
wonderful animation, villains. But for this one, and I think we're going to be saying this quite a bit, is the nostalgic factor in it.
absolutely,
And
yep.
so 101 Dalmatians is probably one that I went through and burned the tape out, because a lot of these films I watched on VHS. But 101 Dalmatians made my top 10 at the last minute. So like I said, I bumped out Sword in the Stone. Sorry, Knutson. But I had to do it for 101 Dalmatians. Number 9. I'm going with another one that I had a really tough time. I was going to go 101 Dalmatians and 2 other films, and I was only going to give them 2 spots. But number 9 is Pinocchio. And the reason why I have it actually so low is I haven't revisited it in so long. But Pinocchio, for me, it has one of the biggest adventures to it. And what I mean is that he goes everywhere. You think of other Disney films, and they maybe go, through a town or something. But
Right.
this movie, I mean, he ends up in a whale's mouth
Yep.
for a while. So it's moving to me, especially when I was younger watching that. I mean, the fact that this wooden puppet wants to be a real boy, but he realizes the dangers and temptations and sins that, you know, humans have to face on a daily basis. You know, he gets kidnapped, he joins showbiz, he's tempted with booze and smokes, and through it all, he's lied to, and he's so naive about it. But that's what it's like being a young human being. You know, there's so much kind of evil around there, but I think the biggest payoff in this film is that he finds out firsthand that if you have a good support system within yourself, so he has Jiminy Cricket as his conscience,
Right.
and you know, right around the corner is your home, and that's
Geppetto's
yeah,
a
exactly,
solid, you know, well-mannered,
right.
you know, someone you'd want to look up to.
Exactly. So you have the you know, you have the stability at home and also the stability inside yourself to do the right thing, and eventually, spoiler alert, he becomes a real boy. So
It's such a dark movie. Like it is one of those things where just like Dumbo and a lot of older Disney movies are just, there's a lot of underlining, you know, like you don't really realize it until you think about it, but you know, he goes and hangs out with all those boys, he becomes a jackass.
yeah,
You know, like
yeah, literally, yeah.
what kind of kids movie
right.
does that kind of stuff? It's dark, ominous, and it's
Yeah, it's
But it's
twisted and
great.
yeah, it's twisted and real, and I think that's something as we go forward, kind of now. And I think they kind of hide it. Disney does a little bit more because now in this day and age, somebody can be offended by literally anything. So watching this movie and these old movies it's actually really fun. I mean, minus the racial, you know, the racial stereotypes and all that, but. Yeah, Pinocchio is, like I said, it's a great film. I have not watched it. I only have it on VHS. So, I mean, it's a movie I have to get a hold of.
Yeah, that was one of the first Disney movies I've seen, you know, growing up, and it was just Jiminy Cricket. You can't go wrong with that.
Right.
I mean, and then yeah, like you said, it's such an adventure. You know, he's in so many different places, and the fact that he ends up in a whale's mouth, like what
Yeah.
is that? You
Yeah,
know?
it is excellent. So moving on to number 8 is a film that I had to put on, and it's something I actually fell in love with. I've seen it before when I was younger, but didn't really fall in love with it until actually, you know, recently when I got it on DVD. So my number 8's Bambi, and what I thought about this film was that it's very simplistic, but very unique and original, and here's why. The movie itself is very short, you know, maybe like an hour and 10. And like in so many other Disney films, we see the characters start young and finish at a more mature age. But what brings me back to this film is a couple things. The characters, obviously, you know, Bambi, Thumper, Flower. Hold on, I think I hear someone calling.
Hiya, Bambi. Watch what I can do.
But I think, you know, just hearing that clip, you have these young actors, these voice actors back in the day, and they're just so exuberant. They're so filled with life, and that's what I love about each of those individual characters. You know, there's a shy child, or, you know, what you think is a shy child playing Flower. You have a very loud child playing Thumper, yeah. So, but one thing that I love about that film is the actual score that goes with it. So, you know, Thumper's about to go slide on the ice, and you have that, you know, that big music going up when he's running out there, and it's exciting and happy. But even when it gets dangerous, then you have
in the
different
beginning, you know, one of the very few things I've seen Bambi, you know, before, but I think out of all the movies on my list and your list, Bambi's probably the one I've seen the least. But the beginning, you know, when Bambi's dad gets killed, and the music that goes with it is so intense, and
Right.
it's like it's such an old movie. It's, you know, one of the first Disney movies, and I feel like that's what makes it such a classic, is because, you know, there's a lot of Disney movies you might overlook, like, you know, like Fox and the Hound or something.
Mm-hmm.
You know, a great movie, but you don't just hear kids say Fox and the Hound, but like Bambi, people reference Bambi all the time.
Oh yeah, The Sandlot.
All the time.
That wimpy deer.
Yeah, exactly. So it's like, it's such a big part of pop culture, even though the movie was short.
Right.
You know,
And everyone knows that the mom dies. It was such
Yeah.
an impact. I mean, it's still probably impacting kids to this day. Actually, not probably. It most likely is. But yeah, everything you said is right on. And I what I really love, not only just the characters, but especially the antagonist, which I don't believe, and I could be wrong, but I'm pretty sure you do not see the antagonist in this movie, and that's Man. And I think AFI did a list of, I think it's, you know, top villains in all of film, and I think inside the top 20 is the villain for Bambi, and that is Man. And it's awesome because they go through the seasons, and as the seasons are changing, you have these gorgeous colors that they use in the animation of the
Yeah.
film, and
absolutely, the animation itself was awesome.
yeah. You know, and let me tell you, when the mom, you know, does get killed, it's an eye-opening experience for a young child to witness that. And you don't see it; it's off screen. But you know, when he's walking through the woods yelling for his mom, I mean, it's you know, it strikes a chord. So,
Yep, absolutely.
but that's my 10 through 8. So I'm anxious to see what you got.
Well, my number 10, and I gotta tell you, you know, like I said, it was a struggle. There were a lot of you know, movies that I had to remove and put back on, and you know, I was making tweaks up until the last minute, basically. But my number 10, which bumped out my old number 10, which was Pocahontas. Shout out to Pocahontas.
Yeah.
Great movie. But my number 10 is actually Beauty and the Beast.
All right. Well, we'll one of the stipulations with the list is that if we have one that's higher on someone else's list, like way higher, we'll actually hold off on and talk. So, Beauty and the Beast, we're gonna have to wait because
All right.
that is much higher on my list.
All right, sounds good. We'll hold off on that. Number 9 for me is one that you bumped off, and that would be Sword in the Stone.
Excellent film.
So, what I like about Sword in the Stone is I'm a sucker for, you know, I'm a nerd. I love like witchcraft and sorcery.
Yeah.
So when you've got Merlin, the Knights of the Round Table, you know, King Arthur, and it's such an adventure for me. Like, I love that stuff, you know. And then what I really like, though, and I'm a big fan of villains. You know, when I see a Disney movie, a lot of my top picks are because of the villains. You know, I just love it. And with the Sword in the Stone, you've got Madame Mim.
Yes.
This
Yeah. Yep.
short, fat, ugly old lady who just has these powers.
Yeah.
These powers to match Merlin. And it's like, who is Madame Mim? But then you watch the movie and she's turning into a wolf. She's turning into a snake. She's turning into a giant dragon.
Yeah.
You know, it's just...
She's got a great song too. The Evil, Cruel, Mad Madame Mim is a great song, and it's short. I mean,
yeah.
and like the Sword in the Stone doesn't have, you know, these huge musical numbers, but
No, and yeah.
just enough, I think, that they're memorable.
They're memorable. Yeah, it's like you said, it doesn't have these incredible musical numbers, which many of the movies on my list do, but the fact that it's such an adventure, and to me, like I said, I love all that, you know, sorcery and the medieval time stuff. That's just so cool to me. And Madame Mim as a, like, just like Cruella, where it's just some little old lady,
Right.
you know, but next thing you know, they're just super powerful. So I
Yeah,
like
exactly.
that aspect of it, and it's one of those things where it's a story that you've heard before, not just from watching the movie.
Right.
You know what I mean?
And,
So
I mean, yeah, and actually, in a way, you know, you've heard about King Arthur, but I think the fun thing about the Sword and the Stone is that it almost takes a different approach to it. You know, it's like that lighthearted, comical, because they call Arthur, and he's a young boy in it. They call him Wart, You know, it's
Yeah.
like that's odd,
What?
but it's funny. But I mean, one of the biggest things that I've really come to love about that film, and it's one that I picked up a lot later. It wasn't one that I grew up with, but I picked it up much later on DVD, and I thought that you know, Archimedes and Merlin, and you know, you don't have a huge supporting cast.
No.
But what they do have is a very solid, you know, three characters that you really fall in love
absolutely.
with.
And Wart, he's a young heartbreaker. I mean, that squirrel.
Oh yeah, the squirrel.
You know, I mean,
that's right.
So he's a young heartbreaker, kind of like myself. So
Yeah, yeah.
not at all. So yeah, that's my number 9 in Sword in the Stone. So moving on, my number 8 is a pretty underrated Disney movie in my opinion. It's a movie that doesn't get a lot of credit and no one really talks about it, and that would be a Goofy movie.
It's actually, it's one that I don't think I've sat down and watched all the way through since I was really, really little.
Yeah.
And I actually just caught a clip of it the other day when I threw in The Hunchback of Notre Dame, and
Sure.
like I was like, dude, I gotta revisit that, but I didn't. So
Well, I've got it.
You're gonna have to refill.
I have it if you need it. And what I love about it is, I mean, and like you mentioned earlier, a lot of these movies, these are all of our opinions, and I'm a sucker for nostalgia, and I'm a
Right.
sucker for like a good story. So a Goofy movie might not be the greatest Disney movie of all time. It might not make anyone else's top 10, but to me, you've got a story about a dad who just wants to spend time with his son.
Right. Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? A son who just wants to be a kid, doesn't care, and they just go on this adventure basically, and the music in it I think is great. The soundtrack, I mean, you've got Eye to Eye, After Today. I mean, there's some great songs in this movie that just make it memorable to me. And like I said, just the story itself about a dad and his son, that I like that a lot. I think it's a great movie. And Goofy, you can't hate Goofy.
No, Goofy.
Everyone loves Goofy.
Yeah, Goofy's a great one of those original Disney
Exactly.
characters
Exactly.
that they've expanded on quite a bit. But I think you hit the nail on the head with, he just wants to spend time with his kid, and that's something that any of these kids that watch this movie can sort of relate to, and even adults can
Yeah.
relate to it. So, and almost going back to The Sword and the Stone is like, you have this fun, energetic story, but you're learning something about, you're worth something more. Or at least Arthur or Wart was worth something more. He ends up pulling the sword out of the stone, and you have, these almost simplistic, morals that you teach
Exactly.
kids every day.
Yep.
And, it's actually, it's really touching. I remember being, really into the Goofy movie when I watched it. It's just, I'm kicking myself for not getting back around to it, but I'm glad you have that on your list.
Yeah, it's good. And honestly, like I said, the soundtrack of it is just so good. And it's one of those movies where even when there's times when you're watching it and you're kind of feeling bad for Goofy, he's such a goon, he's such a goof that you're like happy pretty much throughout the whole movie.
Right, yeah.
It's not like a dark, ominous, like,
Some good give and take, where you're
exactly.
Yeah, you're getting entertained, but you can also, if you don't want to get too low, and I think that's credit to the writers and everybody who was on the team, making that film.
Yep. So that's my 10 through 8.
All right,
basically.
all right. So 7 for me is one. There's not many films on this list for me personally that I haven't grown up with, or that I witnessed when I was a lot younger, because we're 90s kids, so we were in almost like, what was they call it, like the Disney Renaissance or whatever,
Right.
where they start hitting you with all these these great films. But The Great Mouse Detective is my number 7. The thing I love about it, and it's for people who love James Bond, my love for Sherlock Holmes, whether it's in books or short stories or films, I absolutely love the adventures that he goes on. And I think The Great Mouse Detective is such a good a good story with, you know, that Sherlock Holmes feel
Right.
to it. So, you know, you get this dreary, dark animation, and it transports the viewer to old time London. You got the fog, you have, you know, these slums that, you know, Basil and Dawson have to go into because he's trying to figure out this mystery of who stole this little girl's dad. But it's just a phenomenal rendition of Sherlock Holmes.
Absolutely.
And I mean, you know, you have Basil, who's supposed to be the Sherlock, and then I love what they do with the name of
Watson.
Watson is Dawson.
Dawson,
So
yeah.
it's just great.
And they got the Hound even.
Oh yeah,
You know?
yeah. They got the Hound that he rides on, and then obviously, you know, Ratigan is.
Yeah, he's something else. Professor Ratigan is such a great villain.
Yeah.
I mean, he legitimately just scared me watching that movie as a kid. Like,
Yeah, he is very. He is a very creepy character.
Yeah.
And it's just, but his musical numbers too are actually really, you know, I'm really into to what he, you know, all the songs that he has, and you know, his cat that he has or whatever. But yeah, that's it. That movie is so much fun to watch, and you know, I didn't actually get a hold of it until I was in, you know, a couple of years into college. But you know, Vincent Price, and I'm not sure, but that might be his last film.
really.
And what a way to go out, you know. The dude's acted in over, you know, 200 films.
Yeah.
Actually, it's not, but
Well, you know,
I think he
and
did a
what-
couple of other things after or before he died. But
and what a perfect person to play Ratigan, because
Mm-hmm.
you've got Vincent Price, this like master of horror, basically.
oh yeah,
And now you're gonna have him voice act a villain. Like, that's just perfect.
yeah, it is. I mean, that's great.
That's
yeah, it's a
so
wonderful
good.
casting.
You know, so and I always enjoyed that. This movie barely made my top 10. I love this movie. I think what kind of didn't make the top 10 is just sometimes some parts were a little dull to me. It is one of the older Disney movies. The animation though is really great, like you said. You know, the fog and the
Right.
setting was great. But I love like mouse movies. I don't know what it is about like Disney.
Oh, yeah, the
mouse movies,
the
but like
Rescuers and
Rescuers
Rescuers Down
Down Under, exactly. Like, it's just so good. Even I don't know if this was Disney, but was Fievel? And Fievel goes.
No, I don't-
That wasn't
I don't
Disney,
think it
was
was.
I don't think so either. But I just.
But still, good
Yeah,
mouse movies.
great movie. Yeah. But yeah, what an excellent movie, and Vincent Price did such a good job.
Yeah, it's definitely a fun little ride that I think is a little bit of an underrated film. So, number 6. And I think a lot of people will be shocked that I have this one this low, but for me it's got to be number 6 is Aladdin, you know. Riff Raff, Street Rat,
I
don't buy that. You know, this picture to me, this picture to me is so vibrant with its, you know, bright and flashy scenes. You know, the blue of the genie, and you know, I don't know, just all the colors that make up.
And you can't have a
Agrabah.
different color than blue for genie.
Yeah,
that's just like
It's definitely
they
it
hit the
definitely
nail on
suits
the
them.
head for
Yeah.
that. And this is actually my number 6 as well.
Perfect. So let's talk about
So
it. I mean, I guess I would just want to say let's just cut to the chase here. The genie steals the show for me,
hands down.
And if you don't have Robin Williams doing the voice,
It's not the same movie
No,
at all.
right?
Robin Williams gives off this comedic value that you're not gonna get from. You know, I don't care who. Robin Williams, he's such an eccentric. His voice is just so.
He's got a lot of range, you know.
Yeah, he just draws you in.
Yeah, you know, like he feasts to get up in horde. 100 bad guys with swords. Yeah, so you mean like he sings that whole song, and he's
the
women, and he's
parade.
kids, and he's you know,
Announcers.
yeah, he's
Aren't they
announcers.
lovely?
Yeah.
like just.
He's animals. So, I mean, he's got
I don't bring people back from the dead.
Yeah.
I don't like doing that.
It's not a pretty picture.
Yeah, it's just everything about the genie is so good. And then you've got Gilbert Gottfried doing Iago.
Oh, yeah.
And I love Gilbert Gottfried. I mean, I used to watch him on Hollywood Squares back in the day.
God,
and
he's got
he
those
was-
squinty eyes and
He's just such a dork. And
He is.
he's such a perfect voice actor for that bird, because that bird is just so stupid. You've got Jafar, this maniacal...
Jafar.
I mean, he's not like that powerful. Obviously, when he doesn't have his staff, he's pretty much useless. But when he does, he's just like he can get you to do whatever you want.
Yeah.
You know? I mean, he's powerful with that. thing.
He's a great. I love him as a villain. You know, and then the way they outsmart him at the end. You know,
Yeah.
his lust for power is just too much,
That's what-
and
yep.
he, for how smart of a villain he is, he just. It's like he almost outsmarts himself, you know.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I mean, one of my favorite sidekick characters is Abu.
Abu.
I love that guy.
He doesn't even, that's actually really good. He doesn't even have to talk. You just love him. 'Cause
Oh, yeah.
he doesn't. He's very close with Aladdin, and he's very reserved. He doesn't want to let Princess Jasmine in or anyone in, really.
Right, yeah.
Not even the genie at first, and then eventually he just. And even in the beginning, when Aladdin steals that bread and gives it to those kids,
Oh, yeah,
and then Abu has to do
Yeah,
it too.
yeah.
Like, you can tell he's just like,
He didn't want to do it. He was
kinda
just munching it
selfish,
first.
yeah, but he has those good character traits that come
Yeah.
out towards the end of the movie and whatnot. But and personally, to me, I'm not real big on Princess Jasmine. Raja's pretty cool because tigers are cool.
Yeah.
But I mean, I wasn't real big on Princess Jasmine. The Sultan, he's just this lovable idiot. you know,
Yeah, with
just-
the crackers.
Yeah, I mean,
But I mean, what do you think about? I think one of the most iconic Disney songs, "A Whole New World."
oh yeah,
And that scene where they kind of go through and you see the guy making the pyramids, or the Sphinx, and then he sees them flying on the carpet and just cracks the nose off. So like, it's a little history lesson for you.
It
too.
is, yeah. There's a lot of really good, musical numbers in that. I mean, obviously,
Oh, yeah.
Prince Ali is amazing.
Oh, yeah.
And
I think what was it, the Street Rat reprise?
Yeah.
That's the I don't buy that.
yep,
But that one's a really good one. But yeah, I know I really like it. It's kind of
the story is good too. I
Yeah.
mean, it's an adventure. You find this magic carpet in a cave of treasures.
yeah.
In the cave itself tries to kill you.
right. Yeah, it's it's a really fun, kind of the rags to riches, but you really, what does Genie say? Be yourself. Just
Be
all he had to do was
yourself.
be himself,
As the
and
goat, yes.
and he would have been fine. But
What do you think about the sequels?
I grew up with the sequels.
Yeah.
Return of Jafar, I don't really remember, but like Prince of Thieves.
Prince of Thieves, I really like that one, but
Is that's the one where they're getting married, right? How many is there? 3?
I think there's only 3.
Yeah. So Return of Jafar, I don't really remember what happens, but the third one, for some reason, I remember it. Where he finds his dad or whatever.
I mean, obviously that's no original, but
Yeah.
good stories all around.
Right. Yeah. No. So 6, Aladdin. I think we have it. There's just so many classics that I have ahead of.
Right.
Aladdin,
Right.
I
This is
know
where it starts to get tough.
Yeah, I know. I know people hail that as probably the one of their favorites.
Yep.
But look, the way to knock that film for me is just the fact that it's so much of the Genie holds that up that. Not to knock it for having the Genie in there, but I think if you didn't have Robin Williams as the Genie,
Right.
it's not as magical.
Completely agree, and that's why I think the ones I have before Aladdin
Right.
are better.
All right, so we do one apiece from here on out. So we're at number 5, which
I need to give my 7.
oh shoot, what am I doing? Yeah, I'm always getting ahead of myself. Yeah, what's your 7?
My number 7 is a movie that we opened up the show with, and that's The Hunchback of Notre Dame.
Oh, good. I'm glad you have it on there because I felt terrible leaving this off, and I tried so hard, but
This movie, I mean, to me, was just awesome. I mean, you've got a movie that touches on like religious aspects.
Oh, yeah.
You've got Claude Frollo, who is just this like horrible person. He's such a good villain. He treats Quasi like garbage. You know, he in that song, he's basically saying, he's telling Quasi what to think. You know, you're demented and I'm demented. You know, like he's got Quasi wrapped around his finger. And he doesn't have to be powerful. He doesn't have any powers. He's not strong. But like his mental capability
he's
is just
manipulative,
insane.
yeah.
Incredibly manipulative. And the movie itself is so dark. I mean, throughout the movie, you're in, you know, you're down underground with gypsies.
Yeah, yeah.
You know, like it's just everyone. The gargoyles are lovable.
Yeah, and I mean, I was actually going to ask you, do you think, are the gargoyles real, or do you think they're a figment of his imagination?
You know, that's a really good question. That's a really good question. I don't know, because it definitely could be a figment of his imagination, because, you know, obviously they turn to stone when other people are there and whatnot. And if you're trapped in a bell tower all your life, you're going to go a little crazy.
Right, and I think the biggest thing, I mean, it's a Disney movie, so they do things that would probably persuade someone that, yeah, it is real, but I always go back to the fact that maybe Quasi's doing it and we just don't see him doing that. Like when they're shooting those people off the ladder with, I don't know what it is, that Jason Alexander.
He just chews up rocks and goes,
Yeah. So maybe it's Quasi really like throwing rocks at him, but I mean, they are literally, those gargoyles are literally Quasimodo's rock. You know how you always hear people, he's my rock, you know? But
like you said, Disney wants to make it seem real, but Disney back then, there was so many dark, like, underlining messages that you don't really pick up on until you think about it.
Well, let's go back to Frollo. I think one thing in that song, Out There, which is a great song. I love that song, and Heaven's Light, Hellfire is awesome.
Oh, Hellfire is such a good song.
But Frollo, the sad thing about Frollo is that he is telling Quasimodo the truth. And I think this is something that is so sinister, but it's also so scary about Frollo, is that he thinks he's right.
Yeah.
He does not think he's doing anything wrong.
Right.
When he wants to burn down the house with the people in it. He sings about, his thoughts about Esmeralda, and how he can't tame those thoughts, and it's actually really he's a really unique character, which
Definitely.
I think is somewhat overlooked in the grand scheme of things. Like, he gets what he deserves, but even in the end, I think Quasimodo wants to save him. And I think that it speaks about Quasimodo's character too, is that this guy is the only thing he's had to a dad.
Basically, I mean,
but he's a real. That's why I go back to that. But that movie, because you have those, like, Out There is a song that I have had stuck in my head for like the last 6 days.
And you said you're not a fan of Topsy Turvy, but Topsy Turvy is such a good song.
I love the jester in the beginning when he's telling the tale of Notre Dame. That song is good, but I just, as a kid, I was always confused as to why he was hostile towards Quasimodo when they went to the.
Well, because Quasi's in this bell tower, basically a servant to Frollo, and the jester's a gypsy.
Right, yeah,
and obviously we know Frollo's thoughts on gypsies, so I think he was a little, reserved at first and a little eerie to trust Quasi, because, he doesn't really know him.
Right, yeah, no, and it took me another viewing. I actually watched it the other day, and I was like, okay, I get that now, and even then, even back then, I was so confused as to why, Esmeralda would let Quasimodo get tied up and get stuff thrown at him, and then you kind of go back and it's like she didn't know that he didn't have a mask on.
Yeah.
You know, she even says, I wouldn't have pulled you up had I known that you were, you know, from the bell tower. But
Hideous.
yeah, so it's definitely a movie. You know, you gotta overcome what these people think of you, and you know, and I don't know if you have this movie, and I don't want to jump. I'll wait to see if you have this. But let's go to number 5.
Yes, number 5.
All right, 5 for me is Peter Pan, and for me, the opening sequence of this film has me rolling, laughing every single time I watch it. Okay, so the father in the beginning, who also plays the voice of Captain Hook, he sets the tone for the film Peter Pan. It's like the role of the father jumpstarts the entire score and gives us a glimpse into the personalities of each child. So John, Michael, and of course Wendy. You know, he also shows us a glimpse of what happens when you grow up, and the reason why Peter Pan is such a coveted character, you know, with his adventures and all that. But I remember seeing this film, I think, in the first grade and just falling in love with it, because the film grabs the imagination of every child that sits, you know, enthralled in front of a television set. Neverland is such an amazing place in this film that it makes you, I mean, I think I had a dream about it that night, and it was just, I woke up and I was like, I have to have this movie. But, you know, Disney did such a spectacular job with creating such a vibrant land and making it feel like, you know, we're almost peeking behind a curtain of some super secret place that no one's supposed to go to except for these few chosen kids.
Right.
But above all, I think this picture makes me, you know, it helps you differentiate childhood and adulthood, you know, told charmingly by the Your Mother and Mine song sung by Wendy when they're deciding, hey, we want to go back home because we miss our parents. And, you know, I can't forget about that scheming bilge rat, Captain Hook. That, you know, we're talking great Disney characters, and he's got to be up there in the class of, you know, just awesome villains.
He's great. I mean, he's just a bully, essentially. But
yeah, I mean, he's basically wearing a mask because he's, you know, you wouldn't think a guy of, you know, that, you know, magnitude would be, you know, evil magnitude would be able to be afraid of something, but he's terrified of that crocodile, you know,
Right.
and he's being outsmarted by a young kid.
basically,
Yeah, so
I think you said it really good earlier when, you know, Neverland is just this magical place with bright colors, and I think Disney does a good job in the animation. You know, in the beginning when were they in London?
yeah, London.
It's just, it's so boring. A lot of like basic gray tones and like,
Oh yeah,
and then
dark. It's nighttime.
Yeah, it's real just boring. And then next thing you know, you're in this magical land with, you know, fairies and
yeah, fairies,
crocodiles
and mermaids,
and
crocodiles,
tiger
pirates,
lily,
tiger
you know,
lily.
Indians. I mean, everything.
steak.
It's just, it's an adventure, like a lot of the movies we've been talking about, obviously, and this one didn't make my list. I think it's a great movie, but I never really got super into it. Personally, I was always a fan of Hook,
Yeah.
the movie Hook, just because obviously Robin Williams and
Yeah.
Rufio. But I mean, Peter
Rufio.
Pan. Peter Pan was obviously a
Bangarang Rufio.
so good. This, I mean, great movie still. Didn't make my list, but I like, you know, what you said where you know, you just transform and you just want to be one of those lost boys in Neverland.
And even the 360 that they have where it's like the kids, the lost boys saying, hey, yeah, we want to go back too. And then you have at the end the dad actually realizing he also went to Neverland at one time. You know, so it's kind of it's a glimpse at both. I mean, I heard that it's not really as dark as the book, but yeah, I mean, I think it's a really great story that I've loved since I was young.
And I like stupid, dumb characters, as I've probably already mentioned. So, Smee.
Oh,
to
yeah,
me,
Smee.
like Smee is just so good.
He's one of those classic Disney voices too.
Oh, absolutely, yeah. His voice is just real nasally, real and even him as a character, he's just real sluggish, real clumsy, just an idiot. It's just
Yeah, I mean,
love it.
and I love. He's in so many other different movies. I can't name them off the top of my head. If I found the character, you'd be pretty shocked at all the movies that he's in, Disney wise. But, what's your 5?
My number 5, and it was really tough between Aladdin and this movie, but my number 5 is actually Mulan.
Ooh, that was like teetering 10, 11.
Yeah.
Honorable mention, man. That's definitely in my top 3 honorable mentions. But
See, for me, Mulan, like, it's just way different. You've got a woman, as the main character, the main hero.
Oh, yeah.
Which you don't see often. And Mulan is, I guess, a relatively newer animated Disney movie,
Right.
considering we're 90s kids, So to us, I mean,
hence the detachment that I have just a little bit from the film.
Yeah.
I love the film. It's great.
But Eddie Murphy brings a great, supporting character.
Yeah, that little that what do they call it? It's like the
Comic relief.
Yeah, comic relief.
Yeah.
Exactly.
But to me, Mulan, you've got this strong, independent woman who wants to save her family's honor and basically fight for her dad who can't anymore, even though he wanted to.
Yeah.
And she faces one of my favorite Disney villains of all time, Shan Yu, the Hun. I mean, this dude scared me when I was little. He's big.
He's another one of those voices though too. That like classic Disney voice. He's almost like that street rat guy. And
the guard.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Street rat.
Yeah, this dude is just a monster. I mean, the opening scene of the movie, he basically lets China know that he's there to invade. He doesn't care.
Right.
His persona is just this mean dude who just doesn't care, and he's got that hawk as his
Right,
pet.
yeah,
I mean, it's just so in Mulan, I mean, a great story in general, I mean, eventually they find out that Mulan is not a guy, and they kind of disown her at first, even though she basically saves all their lives. But then even after all that went down, she still goes back to the city to warn them and ends up defeating Shan Yu, and it's just great.
She breaks though, those stereotypes and tropes
Exactly.
about, women in the day. So,
and especially the fact that this was, an Asian movie where it's like that heritage, it's always the men that fight in the war.
right.
I mean, here in America, obviously, you can have females enlist and everything, but, back when this movie was supposed to represent, the fact that you've got a female fighting in this war just definitely breaks the stereotypes, like you said. And the musical score is great. I'll Make a Man Out of You is like one of my favorite Disney songs.
I actually, what the Reflection song I think is really well done. I don't hold it as high, and I think that's maybe the reason why I didn't actually put it on the list as some of the other Disney soundtracks / scores, that are available or present on my list. But still decent, and I enjoy it. All right, so 4 is that a,
That's all I got to say on
all right? Well, I'll tell you what. I mean, I'll tell you, The Jungle Book, my number 4.
Good old King Louis.
Yep. The jungles of India is no place for a boy, but this boy loves going there and visiting with Mowgli, Baloo, Bagheera, and of course, scatting with old King Louis. Babadoo bang. But yeah, no, I really enjoy, and his little white-haired buddy. Yeah.
The Whistler.
Yeah, that's great. But I love seeing Kaa get a knot in his tail, and I love how Mowgli is taught the bare necessities from
Baloo.
Yeah, the laid back, carefree Papa Bear.
This is actually my number 4 as well.
Oh, perfect.
So
2 now.
2. Yep. See, to me, Baloo, out of any Disney character that I can think of, Baloo represents me, like laid back, easygoing, funny guy. I don't mean to toot my own horn or anything, but you know, like
Calm down, Rooney.
I can just relate to Baloo, and I love animals. I love the jungle. So I mean, to me, like when I first saw this movie, I was just like, I need to watch this nonstop.
Right.
You know, I mean, Shere Khan is just this intense, ferocious, you know, dude. But I guess at the end, he's really not. He kind of just a typical scaredy cat. But
yeah.
but
yeah.
I mean, you know, the characters, everyone you can just fall in love with. I mean, like you said, Kaa, who's just this stupid little
And he,
snake.
dude,
and-
he's another one. I think he's actually the snake in Robin Hood too.
really
Yeah.
Hiss.
Yeah. So
Hiss. Robin Hood was actually one of my honorable mentions.
really, yeah, I didn't.
Yep.
I mean, I own it, but I didn't. I mean, it's one that I don't really get pulled back too often for. But, yeah, no, the Jungle Book. I mean, this movie is so great. You can even bring dates back and pop it in and watch. And anybody who knows me,
I was gonna mention something, but I didn't want to.
no, anybody who knows me will know what I'm talking about, and that's about as far as I'll go because I don't know who's listening to this. So, definitely don't pop in the Jungle Book if you're looking to close the deal. But no, but I mean the finale with Shere Khan is so exhilarating and tense. And I don't know if you remember that barbershop quartet. Those
The Vultures.
Yeah, the Vultures.
Yep.
It's so good. I love that song.
What do you want to
actually.
do? I don't know. What do you want to do? Don't stop
Yeah,
that
don't
again.
stop that again. Yeah. But obviously wonderful characters. Including one of my all-time favorites in Baloo.
Mm-hmm.
Accompanied by the sweet tunes, puts the Jungle Book, so high on my list.
That's the thing. Like the songs in that are so good. The Bare
Yeah.
Necessities is so good. That is such a good song. And then you've got King Louie. I want to be a man, come,
Yeah.
stroll right into town. I mean, King Louie is one of those guys where you don't really realize he's kind of a bad guy, but you don't get that impression at first. He's just this
Right.
fun-loving, have a banana, have two,
Have two
bananas.
bananas.
You know, I
That's
mean,
so
he's
great.
feeding them. He's
Yeah.
happy. He's got money. I mean, it's one of those movies where you can just watch over and over because of every time there's a new character, as short as they're in the movie for, you just want more of them. Mm-hmm. And are you excited for the new Jungle Book coming
I
out?
wasn't until the Super Bowl when they had that, I don't know how they made that commercial 3D on just any TV.
I didn't even see it.
It was literally it was 3D without putting on glasses.
What?
It was
So
insane.
then when King Louie reached through the...
Yeah, and Bagheera jumping. It was insane. I don't know how they did it, but it was awesome. And I'm not a huge fan of them switching all these classics to live action, but
Like Pan as well.
yeah, Pan is garbage. But I enjoyed Cinderella. I thought Maleficent could have been done a little bit smarter. For the record, I think Maleficent. Spoiler alert. For those who haven't seen it, sorry, but I think what they should have done in Maleficent was actually she puts the spell on the little girl that nothing will be able to wake her up. And actually Maleficent becomes good in that movie, right? But what she should have done to make it not stray from the story was actually her spell, Maleficent's spell that she sets on her, should have made Maleficent evil because she said nothing can change this spell. So wouldn't that have been sweet if the spell would have changed Maleficent's mind about how she felt about Aurora? Anyways, that's just my thought. But I guess I may be a little excited. Jon Favreau's directing it, so
Yeah.
I don't know if I'm a huge fan of him or not.
I actually like Jon Favreau. I liked him better when he was just this ripped meathead from The Replacements.
Yeah.
Now he's just this.
Yeah,
bigger
so I
dude.
mean, I'll you remember that deaf guy dancing in that scene when they're in the jail and he doesn't know because no one tells him.
Yeah,
He's just
that's Roy from The Office.
Yeah. So I guess I'll give it a shot. But you know what else is great about the Jungle Book is the fact that it has that awesome Disney spin-off cartoon Tailspin.
Oh,
Tailspin's
Tailspin's
great.
so good.
Yeah, but one of my favorite scenes is when Bagheera is trying to get Mowgli up the tree, and he's like, "Was that all the better you could climb?" He's
Yeah.
like, "I can't. It's too big around."
Too
And,
many around.
Then he like pushes him up.
Yeah.
And then Mowgli loses his grip and just grabs onto Bagheera's
Yeah.
skin, and he's like, "Wow!" But no, yeah, Jungle
big
Book's
around.
great. So we both have 4. So jump to my 3 then.
Yep. Go ahead.
This is one that we're gonna have to go from your number 10 actually.
Okay.
So I'm actually gonna have Beauty and the Beast at my number 3, which I actually just switched because I had to think this long about it. But I think from the creepy music in the prologue, the stage is set for a fun, slightly dark story of looking at someone in a way different from just looks, you know. So finding a person's true character deep down. And you know, Beauty and the Beast has such a strong independent female lead, just like Mulan,
Right.
who's looked at as being weird and odd because she likes reading books and she's smart. But she's my favorite Disney princess. But whatever. This film boasts such a strong soundtrack that plays so well with the scenes they are paired with. It makes both the scenes themselves and the songs eternal. So one movie I actually don't have on my list that you may, so I'm not going to name it. I really enjoy the music to it, but for me it doesn't compare to the scenes as well as Beauty and the Beast does. But you know, the supporting characters are so well done that we remember, you know, names like Lumiere and Cogsworth.
Yeah. Gaston.
You know,
I mean,
and here-
everyone hates Gaston.
And here, yeah, exactly. And here's something we've heard quite a bit, and you know, it boasts one of the best Disney villains. To some, I mean, Gaston might be forgettable, but he rivals to me Khaled and Hockley from Titanic.
Oh, sure.
You know, being one of the most pompous, self-absorbed schmucks to ever grace the big screen. You know, and the Gaston
And the
reprise-
jealousy.
right? Yeah.
Yeah. Same with, yeah.
You know, the Gaston reprise is masterful. You know, it's like, Le Fou, I'm afraid I've been thinking, and that idiot, he's like, a dangerous pastime? I know. but the rose has become one of my favorite metaphors for a film. I absolutely adore, I don't know why, it's just a flower, but to me, I love that it's just, you know, it just represents the time that he has, and actually after, you know, the last leaf falls, he's still able to, you know, change his life because of Belle. So
Right. I mean, Beast is one of those guys where it's far down on my list because honestly, Beast and Gaston made it in my top 10 because I like both those characters. I'm not real big on Belle, but the story itself is really good, and like you said, the metaphor with the rose and Cogsworth, you gotta love Cogsworth.
Oh yeah, yeah.
But I mean,
I knew it.
he's so good. He kind of just reminds me of heck is that crab's name from Little Mermaid?
Sebastian?
Sebastian. He just reminds me of
Yeah.
Sebastian. But anyways, I mean, Beast, like I said before when I was talking about like Sword in the Stone, I love like nerdy stuff, you know, like you've got
Right.
this, he almost looks, he's not a minotaur, but he's a beast. He's exactly what his name is.
I think
but
he was perfectly drawn. You know,
Yeah,
not
he's-
too scary,
Right.
but not too lovable either. And here's a little nugget alert for you. In The Hunchback of Notre Dame, when he's singing out there, and they move the camera from Quasi to the town square where he's like, out where the millers and the workers, something.
Mm-hmm.
You can see Belle walking down the square with her book.
Really?
Yeah, it's awesome. I
Well,
actually watched it.
Since we're talking about little nuggets like that, you know, in Beauty and the Beast, when they're in Gaston's place, you know what lion is mounted on the wall, don't you?
Scar?
Scar.
Oh, yeah. Well, Scar makes an appearance as well in the Hercules. Hercules is wearing Scar when he's
really?
posing for that picture. Yeah. Jeez, Lion King's everywhere. But not yet seen on our list. All right, what do you got at 3?
My number 3, and My 2 and 3, my number 1, we'll get to that later, and it'll never change. But my 2 and 3 fluctuate all the time. It's so hard for me, but I think I've officially made my my decision. And my number 3 is actually Hercules. So.
I've got 24 hours to get rid of this bozo. The entire scheme I've been setting up for 18 years goes up in smoke, and you are wearing his merchandise!
Come on.
And that right there is one of the reasons why Hercules is so up there on my list. James Woods as Hades.
He's a great character.
The god of the underworld. I mean, I love Greek mythology. I think it's so cool. So you've got Zeus, Hercules, Pegasus, Hades. You don't see Poseidon, but I mean, Hades is unlocking the Titans to take over Mount Olympus. How
Right.
cool is that? Like, the story is so awesome. I mean, I love everything about this movie. Starting with just the cast itself. James Woods. You've got Danny DeVito as
Right.
Philoctetes, one
Right.
of the greatest Disney characters.
I
Like,
have-
to me, just because of how like funny and angry he is.
I have one word for you. N-O. And he gets shocked.
I
Or
mean-
no, or it's like, I got one word for you. And he gets shocked. Okay.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, Zeus just throws down that lightning bolt and just saves Hercules. But I mean, and then you've got there's so many supporting, characters.
Yeah, characters.
Pain and Panic are just awesome.
Yeah.
They're supposed to be evil bad guys.
We are
but-
worms.
Yeah, I mean, but they're hilarious. You almost like them just as much as Phil and Pegasus. But I mean, to me, Hercules is one of those things where, because I like Greek mythology so much, that it's just such a cool movie to me, and they capture a lot of what you actually read about with Greek mythology. And I mean, they've got. What do you think about Hercules? You
Well,
like it? You're a fan?
No, I love Hercules. And it actually, I loved what we had with Meg and Hercules. Like, even as a young kid, like, I was so invested in that love story, that I was like crushed when it turned out Meg was two-time,
Yeah.
like stabbing him in the back, and and worrying for her when that beam falls on her and all that stuff. And I love the fact that they are so into pop culture references, although I do think at times it's a little overboard. But I feel like I can think of the movie all at once in my head, and I mean, I don't know what exactly I get out of it, but it was big in my childhood. I actually have a little Hercules right here.
Oh yeah.
I know I have a bigger action figure of him too. But yeah, I mean, I think as I grew up, I was into it more for the laughs now
Sure.
than I am the story. But I'll tell you what, dude, I Can Go the Distance is one of my all-time favorite Disney songs.
The music in that, I mean, I Can Go the Distance is such a memorable Disney song.
But
Like,
here's what I was gonna say too.
Zero to Hero.
Yeah, Zero.
I
And
mean-
I love those the muses.
The Muses.
They're
and,
great, actually. But
and the Fates are great.
and what I really actually enjoy about, all right, I don't mean enjoy, but the parallels I actually see between the Hunchback of Notre Dame and Hercules is that the main character is something that they're kind of looked at as being different or, freakish. One looks ugly, the other is freakishly strong and just different.
Right.
And they're both almost striving to become the same thing. So it's almost like I've seen this story before, which you can argue for a lot of Disney movies. You can do that. But for me, it's just, I kind of see too many similarities for it. And it's lost a little bit of the magic for me. But I still put it on my honorable mention. It's on here. I'm looking right at it with about 4, like The Rescuers and The Rescuers Down Under and Tarzan and Mulan and Hunchback and
Well, you make the connection to Hunchback, and that's not the only connection. I talked earlier how like the Hunchback of Notre Dame is just this dark. You know, they focus on religion, and I mean, there's the gypsies, and you know, it's almost like when Quasi's underground, he's in the underworld, which is exactly what you visit in Hercules.
Right.
You're in the River of Styx. You've got souls reaching up, trying to get you. You
Yeah.
know, like for a Disney movie to go that dark, like you're in hell in Hercules.
Oh yeah.
You know, like it's just, but it at the same time, James Woods is he makes Hades out to be just this kind of like moron almost, but like so it's not like too deep, too dark, but at the same time, you're just like, wow, what is going on with this Disney movie?
I will say this though, in defense of Hercules, I despise when people say, oh, it's nothing like, you know, the actual Greek mythology, and you know what? Because it's a freaking Disney movie. You know what I mean? Like, lions don't actually act like that in The Lion King. I mean,
Right.
give me a break, dude. It's a movie. It's a Disney movie at that. So don't even bother with that garbage, because I'll just shut you down all day. So, what are we at here? Two now?
Number 2, yeah. What's your number 2?
Number 2, I gotta go with Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs. To me, this film holds arguably one of the best characters of all time that utters no dialogue in Snow White, and that's Dopey. He's such an imaginable character, as is the entire film. Disney's first and the first animated feature to grace audiences in theaters with color. Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs, in my opinion, still dazzles. Well, it does dazzle me to this day, but it can still grab an audience the way it did when it first came out. And this movie came out in the 30s. Okay, we're talking the 30s, and it's still impressionable. It still
Yeah, they're
holds
making
up to this
movies
day.
about it now,
Correct.
you know?
Yeah. And it has passion, it has love, loyalty, friendship, comedy, and beautiful songs and animation. You know, there's some of the camaraderie between Snow White and these 7 little men it's so, you get so invested in it that you feel for him when she dies. You know, she's in this sleep.
What? She dies?
Yeah. Sorry, spoiler alert from the 30s.
No, I think you hit the nail on the head where like I'm not a big Snow White fan, but you hit the nail on the head when you said how memorable it is. And in Dopey, I mean, you tell someone to name one of the 7 dwarfs,
Right.
and almost everyone's gonna be like Dopey.
Yeah, Dopey
Maybe
or Grumpy. Yeah, Dopey or Grumpy.
Maybe Sleepy, but
Yeah.
Dopey or Grumpy, but mostly just everyone knows Dopey. I mean, he's just eating soap, drinking soap. I mean,
Yeah,
he's just
yeah.
like, he's just a dope.
Yeah, you know, he's great. Yeah, I mean, and you know, the witch is the evil queen is creepy, but yeah, I mean, it's got a big heart. The film has such a big heart, and for me, I know some of the musical numbers for some people may be a little dated, but for me they hit home, and that's why this film is number 2 on my list, because I absolutely enjoy every song in it. And it's just, and mainly it's Snow White just singing. You know, Hi Ho is one of those songs that anybody
that song.
knows. But you know, even just the party scene, and that's what I meant by the camaraderie between the characters. It's unforgettable. What's your 2?
Well, since you spoke so much about music of Snow White, my number 2 is number 2, basically just because of the music in the movie,
Okay.
and that would have to be Tarzan.
Tarzan. That's what I figured.
I mean, Phil Collins, it's a home run.
Man,
Every song.
he blows that soundtrack out of the water. I would argue.
song.
I'm not impugning on your list here, but I believe that soundtrack is superior to the actual film, and that's the reason why I can't have it on here, is because I can listen to the soundtrack and not have any desire to watch the film.
See, I'm the opposite.
Right.
I hear the songs and I go, man, I gotta watch Tarzan, because like the songs go with the movie so well. 2 worlds, one
Right.
family.
Correct. Yes.
Like when you're watching it, you get this like this feeling for Tarzan, like, man, poor little bugger, you know, like
Yeah.
his family is gone. His family dies to a speechless villain who I think is just totally awesome, and that's Sabor.
Yeah, Sabor,
the
yeah.
cheetah,
Yeah.
or leopard, whatever. You know, he's just this creepy, stalking predator who kills Tarzan's family, and then he's raised by gorillas. And to me, like, I think what makes Tarzan my number 2 is I love animals, I love the jungle, I love gorillas, and you've got this movie basically about all of that, and then you've got the soundtrack. It's just, to me, it's this, it's just amazing.
And I don't know why. I mean, I guess dude, this list is cutthroat. You
Yeah.
know, and then to me, when I had to find something to keep Tarzan off of it, was just the fact that I listen to Disney Pandora every single day at work, and I have favorited basically the entire soundtrack to Tarzan, and like, to me, it suffices enough to where it, you know, it feeds my hunger for that film enough to where it's like, you know, I mean, I don't really even need to watch the movie, which it's entertaining as hell. The movie itself is excellent, and you know, exactly. I mean, you have these songs and they go so well with the scenes, and I don't know what it is about it, but it's almost like, for me, they play a little bit too much. It's almost like they tell you a little bit too much about the story. But again, I can't fault it for that, because it's a damn good soundtrack.
Well, I mean, the supporting characters, you've got Turk, you know,
Turk,
Rosie
yeah.
O'Donnell.
Rosie O'Donnell, yep, knocks it out of the park.
She does a great job. Like, she's one of those voice actresses where, like, she kind of reminds me of, like, Ellen DeGeneres, where, like, if you ever saw them acting in a normal movie, it probably wouldn't be that good. But their voices are so lively, and it's like, you've got Turk and, you know, even his, you know,
Kala.
Kala and,
What's that guy, the Nedry from Jurassic Park? He's Tantor, right?
Tantor, yeah.
What's this guy's name? Wayne Knight or something like that?
I can't remember.
He's Newman from Seinfeld.
Oh, yeah.
Is that guy's
I can't
name
remember
Wayne?
his
It's
name.
Wayne something, like Wayne Knight or something. But
Yeah, Tantor's great, and I mean...
yeah. Even when he's little, you know, he's like, there's bacteria in that water.
Yeah, and Kerchak is great. He's just this brute, basically, even
I
though...
mean, he's a dad that's mourning the loss of his child. Almost, he's taking it harder than the mom is, you know?
And I will admit, like, towards the end of the movie, I guess it kind of drags out a little bit. And then the villain isn't that great. I feel like Sabor is more of a villain
Clayton.
than Clayton. But Clayton kind of bores me. But with that said, and I like this movie a lot because I grew up watching George of the Jungle.
Oh, yeah,
And
yeah.
it just reminded me
Yeah.
of George of the Jungle.
Yeah.
Like, classic bad guy falls in poop. Here comes the part where we throw our heads back and laugh. Ready? And then they just laugh.
Yeah.
But, I mean...
No, I mean, look, I do feel like Clayton's kind of just shoved in as sort of the secondary villain.
Yeah,
because like I said,
exactly.
I would have wished like Sabor would have been a little bit more into it. To me, that's a little bit more natural. But then again, how do you get the professor and Jane onto the island? But I feel like at the end when I love and hate that Kerchak's like, oh, I finally accept you, but now I'm gonna die. You know, that kind of BS. I enjoy it at one time, and then it's like, wow,
But now Tarzan
just so
can lead
forced.
the
Yeah.
the family.
No, I hear you.
But
Yeah, it's a good number 2, man. I really wish, like, trust me, it took a lot to put that off my list. So,
Yeah.
Number 1.
I have a feeling we might have the same number one.
It could be. But I think we might have to do something first.
Wow! If you're hungry for a hunk of fat and juicy meat, eat my body full here because the end's a treat. Coming down a dine on a Stacy's Swine, all you have to do is get in line. Ah, you ate it? Yup. Oh, some bacon. Yup.
Well,
Big Pig 2.
The Lion King.
Yep.
Well, man, this is actually, I actually I rate myself in like film wise and like stages of my life, like generations almost. So I have Lord of the Rings, I have Pirates of the Caribbean. Like these are just, ages in my life. Disney and the Lion King have to be up there because Disney like took over.
Absolutely.
McDonald's toys. It was everywhere. I mean, I think I have a Scar action figure around here somewhere.
I've got one.
Yeah, I mean, and I had a Simba one, but I was stupid and let it go. But I mean, what can be said about this film? I mean, it broke through with both computer animation and hand-drawn animation. It holds lasting, colorful songs and loving, memorable characters like the one you just heard. I don't know about you, but I love how the dark story is willing to go, how dark the story is willing to go to fulfill the arc of the main character. Starting out as an entitled, cocky cub, finding his way back to becoming a reluctant king, finally thrust back into the fold by words of wisdom from his deceased father and that monkey with the blue butt. That's what I always used to think. He had just a blue diaper or something he was wearing. But phenomenal action, timeless music, and a payoff worth revisiting almost 100 times because, The Lion King is worthy of the title of number one strictly Disney all animated feature film. I don't know what did you feel like when you watched Lion King?
Lion King is just the total package. Characters, animation, music, literally everything. It's so symbolic. Like, you ask anyone, name at least one Disney movie, how many people are going to say The Lion King? Like, so many. It's still relevant today in, like, pop culture. And to me, the main thing, obviously animals are great. I love, which is mostly every Disney movie. But still, like, the music. Dude, in the beginning, The Circle of Life, that guy recorded that in one take.
Oh, yeah. He showed up late.
He showed up late, recorded it in one take, and just nailed it.
And Elton John is amazing with everything that he did. And even when he sings The Circle of Life and when he sings Can You Feel Love Tonight, he does such a phenomenal job.
Every song in that movie is so good. And one of the songs that I really love is Scar's song.
Oh, yeah. Be Prepared?
Yeah, Be Prepared. And to me, like, Scar is arguably my favorite Disney villain of all time. And everyone says, oh, Scar's a little punk. He's a little baby. And it might be true. He's not that strong. Obviously, Mufasa just wipes the floor with him.
Right.
Or, I mean, Simba. But Scar is just this manipulative, let other people do his dirty work, and I just love it.
Yeah, he attacks with the smarts instead of, because he even says, when it comes to brawn, you got the lion's share, and when it comes to brain or whatever he says about the brains and the brawn with Mufasa,
and it's like he's got that Charles Manson, like, make everyone else do everything while he reaps all the benefits, and it's like, I just love it. And even the way he's drawn, lions are supposed to be, these like brown, like majestic looking creatures, and he's just got like black fur with like the scar by his eye.
Oh yeah, the scar.
So good.
And I think Jeremy Irons does such a phenomenal job with the voice. But what I love is in Be Prepared when he's high up on that ledge, like that rock face,
just looking down, and then a hyena army.
Yeah, and then they almost remind you of like Hitler and the Nazis,
exactly.
dude. But that song is amazing.
It's such a good. The Bones keyboard.
Yeah.
And every like supporting character in that movie. You've got Ed, Shenzi, and Banzai. Yep. The hyenas are just great. Timon and Pumbaa, you can't not.
Oh yeah, and even Zazu. I actually didn't like Just Can't Wait to Be King.
The song.
Yeah, and then all of a sudden I started hearing it more and more on my Disney Pandora, and I listened to that thing through the whole time because I absolutely love the song and how he's trying to tell Simba, like, you're kind of being arrogant and cocky, and he's like, I don't need to listen to you. But that it's a great scene. I mean, it's a great song. But I think there's two scenes that are mainly that take the cake for me, and that's obviously the stampede scene.
Yep.
And then one other one is the scene where he finds his father again.
Right.
Remember who you are.
Through the help of Rafiki.
Yeah, Rafiki helps him.
Yeah, I agree completely. I mean, that scene where he finds Rafiki and look hard.
Yeah, right.
Like, I mean, he finally talks to his dad up in the clouds, and I like how Timon and Pumbaa are.
The monkey's his uncle?
Yeah, I don't know. And then, like, Simba's trying to be, like, real with him, and he's talking about how, like, my dad once told me that the great kings live up there.
Oh,
and then,
yeah.
And they just laugh at him.
You mean there's a bunch of dead guys looking down at us?
Yeah.
And they just love it.
And then they actually explain what the stars actually are. Like, I
Yeah.
hear there's just a ball of gas burning really bright. And then there's like, nah. But
Yeah.
that scene, really kind of hits home with you because, and again, like just like a Goofy movie to me, you got that father-son relationship, and the story of the Lion King is just so, like, it's so good all around.
Oh, yeah. I mean, you feel the love that Simba had for his father and how guilty he feels about it. But,
Well, it wasn't his fault, but
right, exactly. Yeah. And then, I mean, but, when you have such a great voice doing Mufasa, James Earl Jones.
he's just the
my
king,
God.
man.
Simba, you deliberately disobeyed me.
they use James Earl Jones for voice acting, even for non. Look at Darth Vader.
Right, exactly, yeah.
I mean, he's got that voice, like.
I mean, it's so great, and I mean,
Deliberately disobeyed me.
yeah, and what's worse, he put Nala in danger. But yeah, no, The Lion King is something that is it's so rewatchable.
Yeah.
I mean, just like all these films, they're so rewatchable. Whether you
Exactly.
think they're number 1 on your list or number 25, you can always go back and watch these movies, which is what makes these Disney movies so great.
They're slimy yet satisfying.
Exactly. Yeah. But yeah, that wraps this up. But let's go ahead and go through our top 10 one more time, just to recap. So I'll hit it first. 10 for me was 101 Dalmatians, 9 Pinocchio, 8 Bambi, 7 The Great Mouse Detective, 6 Aladdin, 5 Peter Pan, 4 The Jungle Book, 3 is Beauty and the Beast, 2 is Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs, and number 1 is Lion King.
And I had Beauty and the Beast as my number 10, number 9, Sword in the Stone, number 8, A Goofy Movie, number 7, The Hunchback of Notre Dame, number 6, Aladdin, 5, Mulan, 4, The Jungle Book, 3, Hercules, 2, Tarzan, and 1, The Lion King. Honorable mention for me, Pocahontas.
Yep.
The Rescuers Down
Rescuers
Under.
Down Under, for sure.
I actually really enjoyed Fox and the Hound.
Fox and the Hound is great. Big Mama.
Big Mom is legit.
I love.
Boys, sing like spring.
Yep, I love the bear scene and when
So good.
they become friends again. But actually, one honorable mention of mine that I don't think a lot of people know about is The Adventures of Ichabod and Mr. Toad, one of the special double features that Disney put out during World War II, which to me, I still love. I love Dinosaur. I love the animation in Dinosaur.
Really good.
You said Pocahontas already. There's so many films I think that are noteworthy in this that we probably didn't hit.
Robin Hood. I like Robin Hood.
Robin Hood. Hit us up in our comments with your top 10. What did we miss? Are we fools for not putting in Little Mermaid or Cinderella, which is probably insane to some people? But
Yeah, especially Little Mermaid. Even as a guy watching that growing up, I love the Little Mermaid.
Right, it never clicked for me, but I love the song "Kiss the Girl." So hey, you got any special stories about Disney movies? What age did you grow up with Disney movies? But hit us up on the comments, like our video,
Critique us.
Yeah, critique us. Tell us if we suck.
Tell us our opinions are garbage.
Yeah. Do whatever you can. Follow us at The Real Frame of Mind on Twitter. Doesn't mean shit, but there's our first swear. It doesn't mean anything, but yeah, like us, subscribe, please, and yeah, I mean, what is your favorite Disney movie? So let us know. Thank you for watching, and remember who you are.